Welcome back to our journey of our top 100 games ever up to games 2024, release 2024.
Yes, in this video we're going to take you through numbers 85 through 81 on each of our lists.
And if you missed the previous ones, check the link below, including our skit on the first one, aka our favorite game of number 96 to 100.
Yes. And hi everyone, it's Tarrant.
And Stella here from Meeple University. Tarrant, we should probably do another skit soon, otherwise we keep referring to the first one.
Yes, we don't want to direct people to the same thing 20 times.
20 times, that's true. So what are the game's categories or conditions?
Yep, so these are games released up to the end of 2024. Based on our opinions, all games judged on their best version, best combination of expansions, and so on.
Indeed. And how are you doing, by the way? What? I wish I can hear the feedback straight away, but I couldn't. So please write the comments and see what you're doing, what games you're playing. I really appreciate the comments because when we do vlog like this and people would say, oh, I've been playing this, I've been playing that. And I was like, oh, what is that? So I will Google it, or I should say BGG it, and then, oh, that looks like a fun game, and then like I look into it more because there's just so many games, right? And that may be why you're here as well. You find out new games that you want to try to play and what games that would probably suits to your taste.
Or old games that have stood the test
Of time.
Yes. I do kind of wish you could like hear the audience be very pantomime like.
Pantomime.
He's behind you.
The thing is, if we do this live, I'll be very distracted. I'll be like, oh yeah,
Yes.
just looking at the comments. So yes, so I know that there's a trend also that the older games get redone or republished or something like that.
Yes.
Have you seen the top BGG list currently? There's a game called Money. It was published originally in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
Now All Play is redoing it again. So I was like, what's going on? Why is it on the hot list? I was looking at it and I was like, oh, it was 1999. I didn't really look into it so much, but the artwork's great. So I think there's that sort of like recycle type of thing.
Reinvigoration.
Yeah, and the
shall we
Arceus,
say.
that's right, Arceus Society, kind of like different version. I mean, Wingspan.
There's a new version of Ethnos as well.
That's
a
right.
new release of that. So.
That's right. And then I was going to say Wingspan, but that's like, that's not, it's a different story.
Yes.
Anyways, let's start our top games.
Yes, number 85.
Who's gonna start first?
Who's going to first?
1, 2, 3. I win, so I get to decide who starts first?
No, you have to go first.
Okay, then
That's how
fine.
it works.
My 85 game is Wavelength. Are we going to do this? We're going to get people to guess first before we say it? Let's do that.
They can click pause and guess though.
That's true, that's
also,
true.
they have 0 clues whatsoever, so it's kind of an...
It's really tough. Hard
Yes.
mode. So Wavelength it is. So it is a party game where you split into 2 teams and you need to get the most, you need to reach 10 points first. The first team who reaches 10 points wins the game. So each time there's a prompt and then you need there's a scale here that the clue giver will need to give to the team. So let's say, give me a clue, a sample clue, prompt.
how edible is something?
All right, how edible, right? So there's a roundabout thing that you just randomly turn and then you secretly look where does it sit from, the very inedible to very edible. So if you look at it and then you'll be like, okay, like it's very much on the left-hand side means that me as a clue giver need to give my team clue that it is very inedible, right? So I would say like dirty, unwashed, 10 days unwashed, like 10 times wear socks, for example. So it's probably like very inedible or something like that, right? And that's as a clue to the team. And then if the team guesses correctly, then I get points. There's a scale as well, there's number as well. If they don't, the other team get a chance to guess as well. So if they get the guess closer, then they get the points. Otherwise, we get the points.
Yeah,
Very fun game.
where it becomes interesting is trying to find the perfect clue to represent 25% edible or something like that.
Yeah. It was like, what's kind of like edible or not? That's like the extremes usually pretty like you think it's easy usually until your team discuss like, oh, actually this is quite edible. Like you eat the socks, I don't know, or may
Yeah, I must say we had a good time recently playing it with we sort of fell into this house rule where every clue had to fall into a category. So someone had done
A theme.
someone did a clue that was based on a visit to McDonald's. And so every clue, regardless of the category, everyone ended up shoehorning it into some sort of visit to McDonald's. And that actually made for extra fun, I felt.
It was just like somebody then says like, oh, from expensive to least expensive, and somebody made a clue like, okay, McFlurry or something. I was like, and then we're like, is it just expensive for dessert or for the whole McDonald's price menu?
Yes, caused a lot of meta conversation.
Yes, it's a very fun game. What makes this game really great, what I love about it, it generates a lot of great conversations and also a great icebreaker for other people. Like you can we have this game in our board game meetup library, which is every fortnight in Melbourne Central on Wednesdays. So come there if you can. So it's a great icebreaker to get to know other people as well. Some of us, maybe me included, I might be a little bit awkward to start conversation with other people. I think I learned to be a little bit better now. But anyways, that is a great way for icebreaker. So I love Wavelength for that.
My number 85 is Haka Onna. And this is a one versus many sort of narrative, It blurs the line between narrative and one versus many. And it's a game that plays on a lot of horror movie tropes in quite a fun way. So there is a map. The Haka Onna is a Japanese horror movie type of villain. It's like a girl who's been imprisoned in a box and is now a spirit and haunts everyone. And there's all these face-down tiles, and one of them is the Haka Onna, and there are elements that are a little clunky because the players have to close their eyes while the Haka Onna, one player, moves things around secretly. But you kind of get past that because it ends up in this thing where the players are trying to hunt around the house. They're trying to find things that will allow them to win. But they're also encountering all these horror movie tropes. Like you might encounter this card that makes a phone ring and they're sort of drawn towards the phone to pick it up, and it forces them to take actions in these certain ways. And there's lots of different things and combinations that can go on to make for something that feels like an immersive tale, which pans out really well. And it's got this little... it's perhaps a bit unusual. It's got a dexterity mechanism where the one player, the Haka Onna player, takes a turn if the other players cause a stack to fall over. So every turn they see whether they take their turn by placing this little thing with a bead on it, and if it falls over, then then it's the Haka Onna's turn. So that kind of mixes up how strong or weak the Haka Onna player.
So it's like a re-implementation from a Japanese game, or I should say implementation in English.
Yes. I have very fond memories of playing as the Haka Onna here and having chances to make some really bold decisions. And I always regret... There's one time I've forgotten the exact story now, which is very sad. But there was one case where I remember having the ability to make a choice that would have made it a win or lose prospect.
I
took the conservative approach where I knew I would last more turns, and I ended up losing. So I was always disappointed. But in our previous video, my number 90 was Nemesis, and I really enjoyed the way that game... It's not a narrative game, but the way it pans out tells a story over the course of the night that you're going to remember and you're going to enjoy. And this does the same thing in kind of a more micro scale and within the horror movie genre. So that's what I like about it. And I think that's, you're not going to see a lot of big narrative driven games in my list, but games where the mechanism and the way it pans out is less about winning or losing and more about forming a story. That is the kind of pseudo-narrative that I like. And that's why those two games, but in this case Haka Onna, features on my list.
So be ready for Tarrant telling you a story stories about the games, which is, I can think of one, but I'm not going to spoil it for you.
Okay.
Game number 84 for me It's published by Haba. And this is like, it's a family game. Rules very simple, but it's so good. It's Honga. So it's about, well, it's very unique. So the idea of the game is that you have cards, which is actually round with 4 quarters, and you play it in the middle of the board to actually do action. So there are different amount of hands on those cards, and the hand would indicate how strong is your action pointing at that direction. So let's say there's a 4 quadrant of the card, and you put it on the board, and then you get to do, like, let's say there's 3 hands, you do 3, I don't know, resource gathering, and then 2 steps to up the ladder. You know, the more you push it, your meeple go there, the better the points, for example. And then the most interesting thing is that in the middle, there's Honga, right? So you have to pad Honga with those hands. So all you need to do is just put one, otherwise Honga comes to you and then bad things would happen.
Yeah, it just weakens your actions ongoing until someone else refuses to
Pad Honga.
Pad Honga. So yeah, Honga very needy.
Very needy. So I love that because of that. It's unique. It's difficult decision to try to, you know, aim for the strong action. I mean, you get a hand of like 3 or something like that, so you can choose the card you want to play. But it's very difficult to see, okay, you want to have this strong action, but you probably need to pad Honga, or maybe you don't need to pad Honga. Just leave it, and then like somebody else will take it eventually, hopefully.
Yeah, it's a game that, it's a nice family level game, and it's got, you know, simple kind of Euro-y actions. It doesn't escalate. It's not a game that has engine building or anything in it. It proceeds at the same pace throughout. But that works really well for this family level game, and it's a nice action point choice.
Very nice. By the way, if we have relevant videos, I'll link it below in the description so you can have a look if you want to find out more about these games.
So we come to my number 84, which is one of the classic cooperative games of our time, Spirit Island. I enjoy the way the puzzle fits together in Spirit Island. It's quite a big, there's a lot of options. I think that's what I like. And there's a lot of ways that different players can use their spirit powers to interact with each other.
It's a cooperative game.
And to try to push things around on the map. The game it's a reverse settler game, so you're playing as spirits on an island, and as the settlers come in, they're going to be building cities and pillaging the landscape, and you're trying to drive them out or drive them away, or for the most part, drive them together and then like destroy them all in one go with powerful cards. And it is a game that provides, it's tight, and you've got to think ahead. It does this very clever thing where you've got fast powers and slow powers. And fast powers, you play them before the settlers move. Slow powers, you choose them before but resolve them after. And trying to get the right combination of that together with all of your teammates to win the game proves to be very fun. And it's a game that it's got a nice pacing. I like for a cooperative game where, you know, it starts to ramp up and you've got this critical moment in the middle where you're either going to get overwhelmed or overwhelm the opponents. So
Yeah.
it makes sure it goes for a good length, and it's very well designed in that way. And we've always found it to be a game that drives individual decision making because it's very complex. You know, there's a lot of talk.
There's no alpha opportunity, much of alpha play. You have opportunities for this one.
Yeah, it's a game that deals with that concern by being too complex for one player to handle the whole thing. And it's not to say that one player couldn't handle the whole thing once they really understood the game, but very difficult to do so. And I think that works quite well. And I think what does stand this apart from many other cooperative games, in addition to that pacing, is it was the first one I'd seen that really used kind of the Concordia card play mechanism, where you play the cards and then you get them back once you choose to get them back. It used that in a very clever way in the way the cards interacted.
My number 83 game is Wormspan. So this is the second or out of the Span series. So first is Wingspan, which has got lots of expansions and so on. And this is the second one, which is Wormspan, a little bit more complex and crunchy. It features dragon. So it's not bird watching, it's not fishing with Finspan, but it's dragon reimagining.
Hunting.
It's not hunting. You say reimagining. That's your word. So Wormspan has got similarities with obviously the predecessor Wingspan. It lets you do tableau building, but you need to do certain things like resources. There's different ways to get the resources. It's not dice rolling, which I actually appreciate more. You create your own resources, you gather your own resources, you put the cave card on your tableau to actually get resources, or some of the ways to get resources, main ways, and then you put the dragon there. And as the game goes, your action is not dwindling, but it's actually more depending how you manage your engine building. So you can create this dragon coin or dragon scale looking coin, and that actually you can spend it to get more action. It's really fun. It's beautifully drawn, and I actually enjoy that more than Wingspan. So,
yeah, I think it takes what was great about Wingspan, which for me was always the fact that it was a tableau builder, but not an overwhelming one, because you were only ever activating a third of your tableau at a time. But then this one, instead of trying to get the Wingspan, all the text effects to line up, you've got something where it's more. You have to think more strategically about how you use cards to get what you need to build other cards. And that's how it ends up being more crunchy.
That's right. There's timing as well. So there you go. That's why I love Wormspan.
My number 83 is a game that I played a lot in my early days of modern gaming, and it still holds a really great place, and that is Coup. Coup was... for someone who had friends who played a lot of, or who liked to play a lot of social deduction, but me who didn't like the really crunchy Avalon types of social deduction, Coup was a really nice, quick, and evidence-based kind of social deduction. So
there's some puzzle deduction to it.
Yeah, so there's 5 rolls in the game. You have 2 of them. They're face down. And then you just take action. You declare what card you have, but you're allowed to lie. And you take actions based on that. And some actions will reveal things. And as things are playing out, you accuse other players of being a certain role. And if they are lying, then they're out. And if they're not lying, then you're out. And you've got 2 lives. And it plays over 5, 6, 7 minutes, that kind of thing.
Very cool.
And it's just so fun. And you just get into all these meta things. Everyone knows that everyone says they're the Duke because the Duke is the easiest way of getting money.
Yes.
And so there's 5 people who've announced they're Dukes at the very start of the game. And so that
usually goes like that.
Causes all this amusement about the Dukes. And I just think it works so well for such a quick game.
Well, I remember that I learned to lie with Coup. I was like, okay, I learned poker face and lie through Coup. Or trying to learn, like, read people, see if they're lying or not through Coup. It's just a fun way to do that.
And I don't think I've come across a bluffing type of game that plays over such a short time or such short rounds that is as good as and as well formed as Coup.
Game number 82 for me is Machikoro 2. This is it's number 2, not number 1. So I enjoy number 2 more. It is faster. It's essentially a game where you build your tableau, speaking about tableau building, and you need to stack your things so that when you roll the dice, so it's a dice rolling, so we activate the building that corresponds to that number. And if it is not your turn, you actually get to activate some things as well. It's something simple on your tableau. Because you start with more things and you don't have to do that much. The requirement to win is not that great. So it sometimes could be a really quick game. Once we play live play through, and we had to play twice because it's that quick. Like, I seem to always lose in this game, but it's really fun trying to dice roll and then trying to activate your building. And then I think it's slightly friendlier maybe than the first Machikoro. I do really enjoy games where you do something out of 10, like Machikoro. It might be another game that I would mention later.
Yeah, it's good for keeping everyone active at the table, especially when you've got a lot to resolve. And it's more a case with Machikoro 1 where you end up with a lot of things to personally resolve.
Yeah.
So having other players able to resolve things while that's all happening really helps with downtime. My number 82 is an unusual little game, but one which really makes for a good evening, and that is Flee. It is the one of the Fable games. It's the only one that's quite like it by Freedom and Freeze. So he released a few games that came in small boxes and that were designed so that you would work through cards and learn the rules as you go along. And many of the games of that style that he did were little competitive games where the rules kind of changed up. But Flee was this really interesting puzzle, cooperative puzzle game. And there's a monster. And there's a monster card will be in someone's hand. And every turn you have to play a card to shuffle things around, change players' hands, swap players' hands, ultimately so that at the end of your turn you don't have a monster in your hand.
Yeah.
And you just kind of work through this puzzle. It's broken into two kind of main parts. So the first 30 cards are a specific puzzle. There is a solution to that puzzle, and you have to reset and replay until you get that. But then after you've resolved that first 30 odd cards, you move on to, it's about a 100 card deck, and it becomes more flexible. And basically you just kind of play around and do the effects, and if you fail, you just shuffle everything back together and start again. And so it's
a cooperative game.
It's a cooperative game, and things are going to emerge and rules are going to change, and you're going to discover things as you go along. And
kind of like Flux, but it's not Flux. I mean, like, it's kind of like Flux in the way that the rules is ongoing. You just like learn as you go, and then it changes the rules as you go.
Yeah.
But it's a different game.
Yeah, there's nothing else out there quite like it
that
I've come across.
Fun.
And it's got that old video game feel where you lose and you have to go back to the start of the video game, but not in a terrible way, especially because the deck does mix up each time once you've got far enough into it. It's fun, and it's going to take you a full evening, most likely, to sit down with a group of people and play through it to its conclusion. But you're going to have a good time doing it, and you're going to have a different time doing it. And I think it is a really great release for that reason.
Very, very good. All right, my last favorite game in this video is number 81, is Libertalia. Regardless of the first edition or the Stone Maya edition that came out a bit later, because the difference is like really tiny. Libertalia is a very fun game, plays a lot of players. It's also on Board Game Arena, where you are, I don't know, like a crew of pirates crew. And it's very interesting because it's the chaos that it would create. The goal is to gain the most doubloon, the most money, treasure, and you need to play the cards, hopefully at the right time, to try to screw your opponents.
Yeah, everyone has the same set of cards. Everyone simultaneously plays one. You resolve them from lowest number to highest number. Some of those will kick players out or shuffle players around. And then from highest to lowest, you take loot. And you have to take loot, and you don't always want to take loot because sometimes there's bad loot and cursed loot and things like that. So you're trying to guess the right times to play the right things. Yes,
so that's it. That's why it's in this list. How about you, Tarrant? Your last game of this video, aka 81.
My number 81 is a game that we mentioned before, actually, early on when we were prattling on in our intro.
Prattling on.
My number 81 is Arceus Society.
Sorry, I spoiled that.
No, you didn't spoil it. You gave no indication that it was coming.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
Arceus Society is, we also mentioned Ethnos. It's kind of a re-implementation of Ethnos, and there are games with very similar card play mechanisms. And it's a very gateway, simple card play kind of mechanism.
And disclaimer, we did not play Ethnos. We have not played Ethnos.
That's true. You're picking up cards to try to make sets, but once you've made a set, you have to put the rest of your cards down into the market for other players to take. And so it's a nice way to have a simple push your luck mechanism built into the card play by saying that, you can, it's like playing Go Fish, but instead of gradually building up all of your melds, as soon as you get one, you have to give up the rest and have to then put effort into getting them back. And I really like that. And then what you do with those sets once you've played them is they let you advance on these different tracks. Each color represents a different track, has some sort of different power, and you're trying to move up in a way that will give you as many points as possible. That's, I believe, where it mostly differs from Ethnos, where when you play, you're doing area majorities onto different areas, and then the scoring is more competitive in that way. So that's why a lot of people prefer Ethnos, because it's got that area majority side of things, whereas Arceus Society is a more, the cliche, gentle Euro tracks. You're doing your own thing.
Yes.
Which is fine. To each their own. Arceus Society is the one I've played, and the fun for me is in the simple card play and push your luck, not in the competition of what's happening on the grids. So that's why I like it. I think it is a game and a mechanism that really stands up.
It's very enjoyable and very unique to its own. You know what I found is really hard doing these videos? Is that referring to other games that potentially a spoiler. I was like, it's like this game, but wait, I better not say about that because then it might be a spoiler.
That's all right. I think we've done enough. We've done enough videos. I mean, if you look back, you'll find where Arceus Society was on my top games of 2023, and that position -1. That many videos are now. That many positions are now spoiled.
All right, okay, that's actually true.
You know that.
Oh no!
Well, you don't truly know. My opinions could have shifted over time as I appreciate games even more with further repeat plays.
Very tricky. So you never know basically what's going to come out. And thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this and have a great day and see you next time. Bye!